think we successfully, not that we did anything ourselves, but I think we are successfully not going to get another foot of snow this week. Thank everyone.
Now, because I've looked at a couple of the models and they keep decreasing the amount. The last I saw might have been 1 to 3 inches here. Did they downgrade us at all?
When I looked earlier, let me look again. Like when I look on my phone, it's not even showing snow for Sunday. So
Okay.
it might have just because there was a chance it was gonna go out to sea and miss us. So hopefully it stays that way. I mean, it doesn't change the fact that when I got up this morning, it was like negative 15 degrees out. But I'll take being cold.
Pretty chilly.
Another foot of snow. So congrats, Mike. We did it. Hopefully. We'll cut the BS and we'll just get right into it. We got a short, little, quick, extra episode for you today, episode 507. Welcome, everyone, to the Pass Control Podcast, a show where a couple of best friends talk about the latest video games and nerd culture. Sometimes we have guests, and sometimes Mike and I just sit here and shoot the shit about whatever it is we got going on. We got a great show for you tonight. We're going to chat about Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, as well as the Tomodachi Living the Dream Direct. But before we get into that, as always, I'm your host, Brenden Groom, and joining me on this lovely Friday evening is the anime senpai himself, Mr. Michael Desir. Mike, how are you doing tonight?
Keeping warm.
It's cold. When I got out of the shower earlier, I was it was like immediate chilliness. Like it didn't even feel like there was steam in the bathroom. My heat's on, the shower was hot. It was just like I stepped out and I was immediately cold again. It's too cold right now. Too cold.
That's that New England winter that I'm never prepared for.
It's that New England charm I keep hearing so much about. But yeah, as I said, we got a great show for you tonight. We're going to chat a little bit about those two things primarily. A couple of quick housekeeping things before we run right into that. This episode, of course, sponsored by our good friends at Goodnight Fatty. If you're in the Salem, Massachusetts area or the North Shore of Massachusetts on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday evening, sometimes Mondays, you want yourself something hot, something sweet, something tasty, something fresh out of the oven, make sure to head on down to 1 Washington Square. Get yourself a delicious fatty. Excuse me. And if you don't know what a fatty is, you can check them out on social media at Goodnight Fatty and at Good Morning Chubby and educate yourself on these tasty, tasty treats. Other quick housekeeping things before we roll right into it. The PTC Movie Club is probably going to be pushed to next week. So within the next week or two, you can hear us chat about Spaceballs, which was the January pick. So if you haven't watched that yet, you still got a little bit more time to check that out and listen to us chat about it in the coming weeks. I think we do know what the PTC Movie Club pick for February is, but just in case Todd does pull an audible, since he loves to change movies every week, we'll wait on announcing that just in case he does change his mind the next time we record. But I do think that is locked. I just don't want to give false information in case it changes. And then finally, I don't know. I feel like we haven't decided on a name for it yet, but we are playing a video game as a group, as a new little thing we're starting this year that we'll play throughout the year a little bit and check in with it as we go, and then wrap it up when we all get to either a certain point or finish the game. But that game was Dom's pick, and it is Star Wars Outlaws. So if you want to play along with us, feel free to hop in on the mix, and we'll chat about it and check in with it as we go about our lives playing that game in the background. And then we'll see where it goes after we finish that one. I think that will do it for housekeeping. We can just roll right into we'll start with the Tomodachi Life Direct first. Mike, I'm assuming you never played Tomodachi Life on the 3DS, and I think you briefly touched on Miitomo, which is different, but I think it's kind of in the same vein, but it is pretty different. After watching this direct, is this game shot up as anything you think you would play, or is it not your jam?
Definitely not something I would play. It strikes me as very Sims-ish in a way.
Yeah, I think it has like a sim vibe. I saw someone the other day. It was like All right, what are we playing? We playing Pokopia or we playing Tomodachi Life? And I think it's like you want Pokopia maybe if you want something a little bit more like Animal Crossing, and I feel like you want Tomodachi Life if you want something like maybe a little bit more Simsy, but also like bizarre on purpose. Like it's a very like I think you're supposed to just like have fun with silliness in that game, where I don't think it's necessarily the same vibe as Pokopia or even Animal Crossing for that matter. But as somebody who did play the 3DS game and had a good time with it and did, enjoy Mitoma for what it was, um, this direct, I didn't expect Tomodachi Life to get its own direct at some point. I mean, I'm glad they did because it might, pique interest for people who maybe were on the fringe or never really engaged with it, and then push people away like Todd, who was like, I turned it off 5 minutes into it because this game's not for me, which I think is also fine. Whatever, like you get to see a little deep dive on it, and if it's your jam, this will show you if it's your jam or not. I'm actually surprised that Todd didn't have like any interest in it because it does, I feel like, fill a very specific bucket for Todd of like, it gives you a little bit of that Animal Crossing-ish type of game, but also gives you like, I feel like a humor style that appeals to the four of us.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it was a funny direct. Like I don't think it's very often that we get a direct that's like also telling us a little story throughout sprinkled in there. Where you get the whole arc of Angie's love story. I thought it was funny. I think at the bare minimum, if you didn't watch the direct, I think it's worth a watch. It's 20-ish minutes. It's a quick little watch. I think it gives a great overview of what the game is probably going to entail, and it'll give you a good, I think, idea if it's something you want to play. I'm more excited for it than I already was. Like I planned on buying this game. I drafted it in my fantasy critic league because I do think it's gonna. I hope it is good. Like I hope it resonates with people. But I expect the people that like pick it up and review it and play it to be people that want this type of thing. So, yeah, I don't know. It looks great. Like there's a lot of. I mean, there's a lot and not a lot at the same time. I feel like it doesn't seem like it's an Animal Crossing level game of like creating an island and customizing an island and building an island and all this stuff, but it does have a lot of that DNA. Like you can customize the island, you can customize the buildings. There's the pallet house, which lets you make different designs for clothes and other items in the game, including tiles for the ground and the buildings and stuff. I feel like that stuff scratches a very similar itch for Animal Crossing people. I think that, it's definitely worth mentioning that kind of up front and center, too, with the character creation thing. They do highlight that not only can you select non-binary as a gender option, you can also select dating preferences to put yourself in different types of relationships, which I think is... it's a great thing, obviously, but I also feel like it's not a normal thing for Nintendo, too. So for that to be kind of like shown there, I think is a pretty...
It was surprisingly progressive.
Yeah, I feel like Nintendo normally doesn't do that, or at least showcase it that way. So it was good to see that kind of right there, just at the beginning of the direct, basically. But yeah, there was part of me that thought that maybe this direct would change your interest level in the game, because I do feel like you would think the game is humorous. Like I don't know if you thought the direct was humorous at all. Like I genuinely had like some little chuckles with it.
Yeah, it had humorous in it, but
it did have humorous in it.
Yeah, it was funny in a way that I would I'll leave it at that. It was funny.
Yeah.
I don't need to put any more qualifiers on it.
Yeah. It has I think it has like a very specific style of humor, and I feel like it does fall within the wheelhouse of like things that we personally think are funny. I think it's a game that's gonna do very well for Nintendo, like on social media. I think people will meme this game a lot, um, which I don't know, maybe it drives to a healthy player base. Maybe it gets more people interested in checking it out. I'm trying to think what else is like worth mentioning out of it. I mean, I like the like little quirks thing is funny. It's like you can get little different like things that make the characters act specific ways or do certain things when they're talking or eating or sleeping. I think it's just like little silly stuff, and I for me it's like the perfect type of game for me to just pop in once in a while, mess around, get little yucks, maybe take some screenshots. I haven't decided on who I'm gonna put in there, but like it's probably a given that I put the four of us in there, and then see where it goes, see who else makes it onto the island, and just see what kind of wacky combinations, you know, things unfold. I'm curious, like how deep the prompts and stuff can go. Like, oh, I think these two people would be good friends. Which they talk about in the direct. It's like monster trucks. Like, I wonder what you can really put in there, because I'm sure there are things
Yeah.
that you can't. And I'm not trying to be like a devious person right now. I'm not like, what can I put in there? I'm just more like curious. Can you put in creative prompts that maybe spark interesting reactions out of the people on your island? So I think it looks cool. I think it looks great. It already in that direct is exceeding my expectations. So I hope the game is as enjoyable as it was watching that direct, because I can see myself plunking quite a few hours into that as the year progresses. But outside of that, um, I have been playing for the last month a game that, if you've been listening all month when I've said things like, oh, I'm playing something, I can't talk about it. Well, this is that thing. And it is, of course, Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. And let me tell you, as somebody who didn't play the original on PS1, and somebody who barely played the 3DS version, I think I only put a couple of hours into it, and then something else came up, and then I just never went back to it. I really enjoyed my time with this game. I don't think it definitely had its moments for me and has its issues for me, but I think as an overall experience, I had a great time with these characters. I think the party is mostly overall pretty great. I think the story mostly overall is pretty great. I absolutely love, adore the visual style of this game. I don't know if you've seen like videos or screenshots of like specifically the characters of this game, Mike, but they created like real dolls in real life, like based off
Hmm.
of the Toriyama designs for the game's artwork. And then they took those dolls and then recreated them as like 3D models in the game. And they're so like the designs of the characters in this game are based off of the dolls they made, which are based off of Toriyama's original designs.
Wrong.
And I think it adds a very specific style to this Dragon Quest game that I think fits the game, and is like I do think it also like fits Toriyama. Like, I think it's a good representation of Toriyama's art style for the game. And yeah, I definitely can't speak highly enough about the art style. I think it is so well done. Like, they somehow, like, this is originally a PS1 game. They somehow made this game that feels like a PS1 game, makes you feel like you're playing a game like that, but you are playing something that looks completely modern and gorgeous, and plays completely modern and gorgeous without like any hang-ups of like maybe a poorly aged, PS1 game or something. It's such a weird, like, I don't know what mental gymnastics are happening in my head where it feels like I'm playing that, but I'm not. Like, I'm playing a modern game, and it's like not a negative thing. It's somehow, it like gives me nostalgia that I don't have for a game I never played or something, or just it evokes that era of video games somehow in a way that feels really genuine and feels really special. I think it adds to the overall experience. I probably should have said this up front, but this will be like a spoiler-free conversation about Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. I'm not going to talk about the story at all. I'm not going to talk about like any other changes that aren't just like things that are already known. And if you want to hear a deeper spoiler or story-focused conversation, we do have another Dragon Quest VII Reimagined podcast episode that is coming out sometime after the game launches. That has friends of the show Lucas White and Cameron Hawkins on to help guide me and aid me in a great conversation about Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, as well as a little bit on Dragon Quest 1 through 3 HD 2D remake, and then kind of just like a very brief, what do we think about Dragon Quest in this year when we are getting this? We just came off the 3 HD 2Ds. Dragon Quest 12 is somewhere out there in development, and 2026 is the 40th anniversary of Dragon Quest. So just like a little brief kind of what do we think, what do we hope, stuff like that. So great conversation, so definitely look out for that as well. But this will be the little spoiler free kind of my little personal review of my time with Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. Yeah, I mean, to go back, because I feel like it kind of fits hand in hand with the art style for me, because it really just like presented a very specific vibe, and the gameplay itself, like moving around in this world, feels really good, and the battle system feels really good. It all just kind of feels and coalesces into something that just feels good to play. And I think part of that, in addition to the art style, is the original game was, pixelated. The 3DS game was a 3D version, and it was similar into how this game is presented, but you were like, the camera was much closer to your characters in these 3D worlds, where this is like much more pulled back, and it's kind of like a diorama. So like it allows just like more to be going on. It doesn't feel cramped on the screen, and I think it just allows the game to breathe a little bit more and allow you to take in these really honestly gorgeous little islands that you travel between. The like over like kind of generalized story of the game is you are a group of friends that grew up together on an island on Eastart Island, and you all eventually kind of want to go on quests, and you start going on quests together. And the thing that you're doing in the game is, like, the original title of the game is Fragments of the Forgotten Past, I believe is what it's called. And basically, you are finding these stone tablets to recreate maps of other islands. And once you do that, once you find enough stone, like, once you find a tablet and complete it, you can then go in the past to that island and figure out what's going on. Because as it stands, the world that those characters currently live in, you're surrounded by water, and there's no other islands that you can see. Like, there's just nothing else exists in that world. But I don't know. Maybe through these fragments, you'll find out what's going on. So it has an interesting sort of like back and forth through time of like, you go back in the past, you come back to the present, and you kind of do that as the game progresses in different ways, and you're looking for these stone tablets. I think it offers like a very interesting and unique sort of narrative device of like how you're having the overall story expand, but also as you travel to these different islands, it's like sort of little vignettes, little just like kind of like anthology of, maybe not anthology is not the right word, but like little vignettes of like, you're going to these places and doing this thing, and some of it might serve the grander narrative, but some of it and most of it is serving, it's like, this is what's happening on this island. And I kind of liked overall the flow of the game that way. There were definitely some highs and definitely some lows, and not all of it was as high as I would have hoped. But I do think overall, like, I enjoyed that flow and structure. I think that there are some really great stories on some of those islands. I do think that the The job system in this game has a lot of interesting additions to the game with it. So you're able to unlock more jobs as the game progresses, and you can change them freely throughout your party as you unlock new ones and rank them all up. But there's also the ability to what the game calls moonlight. So like you can have two jobs on a character, where you have one that's like their main job, and then you have a second one that's like their moonlighting, and it can be a job that you've already maxed out, so you can keep all the moves on your character, or you can be opening two jobs at the same time. So it allows you to like experiment, play with different builds, and I had a good time like grinding out job classes just because I wanted to mix and match and be able to have some freedom with how I constructed my party. But it honestly, like, it's one of those games where I had a lot of expectations going into it, and I was very happy on the other side of it, of where I felt with the game. Um, it's definitely, for me, like a pretty solid 8 out of 10. I think that it it does a lot of really great things. I think it does a lot of just okay things. Um, I don't think it does anything that's too like egregiously bad that I didn't enjoy. Um, but it definitely ebbs and flows a little bit. Seven is a weird one because we talk about this a little bit more on the other episode that will also come out. But it's a game that, if you don't know, like the original release was it was a very long game, and the introduction part of that game was very long, and that was like one of the major things that I think people had varying opinions on. Either I think it was very like they either liked the slow pace or they did not like the slow pace, and this game kind of trims some of that up into ways that make sense without like sacrificing like the beginning of the game, but also speeding up. I don't know what the actual hour amount is, but it was somewhere along the lines of like, I don't know, probably from what I was reading, like 5 hours of the original release before you ever even got into a fight, like before you ever got into a battle, which I think maybe not typical for an RPG for that to happen. The 3DS version trimmed it a little bit, but this like trims it significantly more down, so that you're not just kind of like, you know, in this very slow opening process of getting used to the party and how to fight and all this stuff. So I think stuff like that, there are definitely, as someone who is only just going off of what other people have said, and people like Lucas and Cam who are on the other episode who are more familiar with the original games, there are other changes and there are other like things that I think are done in order to make the game flow a little bit better. So your mileage may vary if you're somebody that like is upset about a certain thing that got cut or whatever. To me, it didn't seem like, based on the conversation I had with Lucas and Cam, it didn't seem like they cut out story stuff or a lot of story stuff. So that stuff might be pretty still well maintained, but it does seem like they cut out certain game sections that maybe were side stuff to begin with, or were maybe like things that didn't serve the restructuring of how they were trying to move forward with this basically new reintroduction to Dragon Quest VII. But like I said, overall, I really enjoyed it. I think that the stage that we're at right now, at the beginning of 2026, it's never been a better time to get into Dragon Quest. Like, I think if you are interested in Dragon Quest, you have like 3 different really good ways to introduce yourself. You can start with the most recent mainline game, which is Dragon Quest XI, which is, I believe, on every platform, including PC. You can start with the beginning of the series and play Dragon Quest III HD2D Remake, and if that's your jam, I would go to 1 and 2 after that and play through that trilogy. If you want to start like in the middle, where Lucas had said this was kind of like a changing point in the series for sort of how like modern Dragon Quest is. 7 Reimagined is like a good, also another good entry point. So like I feel like you have 3 different kind of eras of Dragon Quest that are all solid ways for you to like begin your journey into Dragon Quest. Or if you know, maybe you played a different Dragon Quest game and you want to try a new one, I think 7 is a great place to jump in. I don't think having like no history with the series, I think 7 is perfectly fine for you to jump in if it's your first Dragon Quest game. I think it's absolutely not something that will feel daunting. I don't think you'll feel like you don't know what the story is, because a lot of Dragon Quest games are sort of standalone. Like granted, 1 through 3 is a trilogy. I think you could still play one of them and be fine. Like maybe you've played 2. Nah, I think you could play any one of those games and be fine, to be honest. But I would recommend, if you want to start there, start with 3 and then do 1 and 2. If you wanted to go to 7, go to 11. I think you'd be fine. Or play any other Dragon Quest game. They're just not all super available on modern platforms. You have to figure out where you can play certain ones. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good time. My hour count, just for the sake of hour count, because it is a game that previous versions of it were very long, I'm definitely on the higher end. I know 2 other people who were playing it for review that finished around 40, 45 hours. My hour count when I hit the end was about 89. So I don't know what that says about me or whatever, but it definitely is a game that you can breeze a little bit quicker through. Or if you're like me and maybe taking your time, there's also, I will note, which is a thing that's been available in other Dragon Quest games too, but it might have lent itself to why maybe some of their hour counts were lower and mine was a little bit higher. You can speed the battle pace up. So like they were playing on like ultra fast battle, so the battle like cutscene, like executing a move, like all that stuff was just playing much quicker for them, where I was playing on sometimes the base speed, sometimes the middle speed. So it was like, you know, they were just playing the game quicker that way, so it may have helped shave off some of those hours. But yeah, I don't know. Dragon Quest VII was great. I had a great time with it. I think it's worth noting too that, especially when it's a long game, there's usually 2 things that happen. I either uninstall the game immediately after I finish it, or I'm like, you know what? Kind of want to check out some of the side stuff I missed. And right now I kind of want to check out some of the side stuff I missed. So I think that speaks to like how I feel about the game, truly, is that. So I don't know. You think 2026 is the year you play a Dragon Quest game, Mike?
Probably not.
Okay.
But
fair.
you know, anything's possible. But I still think probably not.
With your gaming habits,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want to just blanket say Dragon Quest is for everybody, because I think it is. But I'm trying to think if you, Mr. Michael Desir, would enjoy a Dragon Quest game. I think you would maybe fare better playing 11. Maybe 7 too. I don't know if like the HD 2D style RPG is in your wheelhouse. I feel like it might not be. Like do either of any of those, or like Octopath Traveler, spark your interest, or not really?
Not really.
Yeah, I feel like those are not your jam. I think 7 could potentially be. I think 11 would be maybe a better spot for you. I don't know. You just want to see what the slimes are all about, Mike?
I get the idea. The slimes, people like them. It's a very popular design thing.
I mean, you like Toriyama. He does have good, like, the enemy design in Dragon Quest in general is just good.
I like Toriyama, but like, sure, I watched Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and GT and Super, but like, Was I watching Dr. Slump? No.
That's on you.
Was I watching the other thing he did? The space thing with something. It doesn't matter. The point is, I didn't.
Okay. Well, someday.
Not the guy. I'm just saying, like, he's not. You can't just stamp his name on him and go like, huh?
Okay.
You gonna, huh?
Listen, you're a principled man, and I appreciate that you stand on business. Okay, so
10 toes in.
you can't fault you for that. Can't do it.
Mm-mm.
So cool. So yeah, that's my little brief review on Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. I definitely think it is one worth your time. I think an 8 out of 10, fantastic game, to be honest. I think that if you are, like I said, looking to jump into Dragon Quest, it's a great one to start with. If you have never played and you're curious, it's brand new, and I think it looks great. I think it's fun to play. I think they've streamlined a lot of the game to help make it more accessible and easier to onboard into the game and just into the series in general. I think that definitely one to keep an eye on if it's of interest to you. Do we play the game or do we just fold on the
Fold?
Okay, that's fine. Let me just mark the scoreboard already with you having 3 bonus points.
Yeah, whatever.
Let's where's the scoreboard for the year? Mike, I'm gonna put 3 bonus Dragon Quest points. See if it comes into play later in the year. But yeah, that'll do it. This is just a short and sweet, quick little episode for you this week. We've had some scheduling conflicts, and with the Dragon Quest release, I wanted to make sure we had something ready to go for, this week. So there's that. Yeah, I don't know. As always, you can find everything we do at passthecontroller.io. Definitely check that out if you want to see drink recipes, written reviews, other content, both written, video. I will quickly say I'm not sure what the pivot's going to be for our short form video, which is mostly cocktail stuff right now, specifically because I think I'm going to take us off of TikTok with everything that's going on. So I'm just trying to figure out if that means it's just a hard move to YouTube Shorts.
I mean, you've got YouTube Shorts, you've got Instagram Reels, you got what is it called? Upscrolled something?
Yeah,
I think it's
made
called
an Upscrolled account just to lock my name. I don't know where that's gonna live either. So I think I haven't decided yet. I got to see what makes the most sense. But that stuff might. I mean, the regular like full screen video will still be on YouTube. I'm just trying to decide where we move the short form thing, because TikTok is a disaster. So let's probably gonna pull everything off of that, unfortunately, for the people that do engage with us there. So if you are someone that does catch any of our stuff on TikTok, just look for it on YouTube for now, and then if it also ends up somewhere else, I'll make sure to let the people know. But that'll do it for this week's episode 507 of the Pass Control Podcast. We appreciate you. Be good to one another, and fuck ice.